right, Clown Nose Club. My name is Brandon Skelton. Such an honor to get to talk with you guys today to share a little bit about myself and hopefully say something, be a little bread for your head, get you thinking, get you moving, and encourage you, inspire you to get out there and change the world you're walking in. So, the first question I was asked is, what made you want to get into your careers? So I'm actually going to be kind of talking about two different things that I do. Yes, I am a minister. That is the driving force behind all that I do is the ministry and making disciples, sharing the gospel. But as far as just a career path, two different things that I'm a part of is I am a high school teacher, and then I'm also a Christian comedian. Clean comedian. So both those are both areas that I dive into and just trying to make the world a little bit better place. So what made me want to get into teaching can go back to the fact that I want to leave things better than I found them and help people get to a place where they love the life they live and get to a place to where they can see an importance in a relationship with God. And I know all that comes back to that relationship building that comes with that day in, day out, consistently being a part of someone's life. And that's what teaching does. Teaching gives me an opportunity to serve and to give back and to connect with students and help them see the potential they have in themselves. Help them to see they can push just a little bit further, a little bit harder, and get themselves to a place to where they position themselves for not only blessing themselves but generational blessing. So, teaching had that pull to me because it is an opportunity to meet people where they are, just day in, day out, and help them to achieve goals and to be inspired and to push to accomplish greater things, but also too just to live out my faith, even without having to say about being a Christian, talk about being a Christian. I mean, I can just live out my faith and just be who I am and let that love of God flow through me and show through me, but also just the joy that I can have in walking with God. Like I like to share with my students even the struggles that are going on so they can see even in hardship, it don't shift the way I live my life and the perspective that I have and the joy that I have, and that comes with having that consistent daily walk with God as well. So teaching gives that opportunity. Now, as far as comedy, it started off and just kind of stumbled into it. I was a pastor for 15 years, and during one of my times of pastoring, I was at a banquet, and a friend of mine asked me to come do comedy at his Christmas banquet for his church. I'd never done comedy as far as just stand-up comedy. I'd done some skit comedy, variety comedy when I was in high school, but this was 9 years ago. And so I was like, sure, let's do this. So I did his Christmas banquet, and then another friend called me up and said, hey, can you come to our Christmas banquet? So I did his Christmas banquet. And then some Valentine banquets started coming through. So after several of these things, just kind of doors opening and me stepping through them and just making the best of it and trying to make it work. Then I was like, maybe I should get some type of formal training to be a comedian. So I went through a 6-week class called School of Laughs just to kind of help me in joke writing and performing and those types of things. But yeah, I stumbled into it. But then what started off is just enjoying getting up and telling jokes, and and also too financially it was a blessing as well. But now it's turned more into just a love of ministry and bringing joy to people and giving people an opportunity to check cares at the door and just for the next amount of time, laugh and not worry about things and just have a good evening. And through comedy, though, it's opened doors as well to share the gospel because you make that connection with people, and then that leads into those God talks with them. So yeah, that's why at first I just stumbled into it, but then God kind of opened my eyes on like how this is a ministry opportunity. This is something that people need. So kind of going to that next question, how long have I been doing this? Total, I think I'm in my 13th year of teaching. I taught for about 10 years. I took like a 6-year break. During that 6 years, I actually managed a gym. And then I also worked with Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And then I came back to the classroom 2 years ago. So I've done 2 more years, started my third one. So yeah, like 13 years now, or going into my 13th year of teaching, most of it high school, but hey, have had some opportunities along the way to teach middle school, which that will increase your prayer life. I mean, you guys, y'all are a fun crew, and y'all definitely y'all bring the energy every day, even when us teachers don't have it. And then I even had a chance to work in some elementary classes as part of being in a K through 12 school. So many fun stories along the way. If you want to check out, I like to share teaching stories in my comedy, so that's on my Instagram as well, comedian Brandon Skelton, so a little plug for that. But then as far as comedy goes, I am in my 9th year of doing stand-up comedy. So I started in December of 2017, so this December will be my 10-year anniversary of doing comedy. Now the next question is, what is my favorite Bible verse? And I would have to go with Romans 5:8, that says that God commendeth his love toward us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us, or God demonstrated his love for us, that while we were sinners, he still died for us. And a cool little backstory on that verse. So I'm showing my age here, but when I was growing up and when I was in youth group in college, Third Day was a huge band, Mac Powell. And I was waiting tables at a Cracker Barrel, because that's, jobs you do in college. And so there's this dude sitting at this table, and I was like, I gotta say something to him. Because in my mind, I was like, there's no reason why Mac Powell should be in Smyrna, Tennessee today. So as he was leaving, I was like, hey, I usually don't confront folks, but I just got to say, man, you look so much like this lead singer from a group I love. The group is Third Day. The guy's name's Mac Powell. And he was like, oh, I know Mac Powell. Just Mac Powell voice. And I was like, this is awesome. I mean, this was like getting the opportunity to have a conversation with one of my favorite singers. And so I gave him one of my Cracker Barrel slips, and he signed it, and then he put the Romans 5:8 on there. So that's a cool little story, just kind of connected to that verse. But I love the verse and what it represents. Is one, it lets me know about God's unconditional love. That even when I was just out doing my own thing and my mind was not in that direction, God still went to the cross for me. So that when I got my focus correct and got my eyes on him, he was there ready, waiting, and ready to write the story of my life. And it drives me too in doing ministry. Very thankful to get the opportunity to, like I say, minister to the least of these, because I do work in ministries that deal with folks in hardship situations a lot of times. And it just lets me know that, hey, no matter what they've walked through or what they are walking through, that does not change God's love. That does not change the fact that the gospel is available to them, that salvation is available to them, and that God can totally give their life a 180 and get them on a path of joy, get them on a path of freedom, get them on a path of just blessing that comes in that. So yeah, Romans 5:8, God commendeth his love toward us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So that is a verse that encourages me, and that is a verse that drives me to do the things I do in sharing the gospel to the next person, because it lets me know no matter where they're at, they're not beyond God's reach. All right, so the next question, what's one moment in your walk with God that shifted your perspective on everything? Well, I got to give a shout out to a book. It is called Draw the Circle, or The Circle Maker. Draw the Circle is like a devotional, so The Circle Maker. And it's a Mark Batterson book. He's talking about, and the story of Honey, look into it, but this guy who drew the circle, and he said he wasn't going to leave the circle until God brought the rain they needed. And this was a public declaration, and he just put himself out there and was like, all right, God, you got to show up. And he was very specific with his prayer, and very bold prayer. And so that became a motivation for me to pray bold prayers and very specific, very direct prayers, because bold prayers honor God. And when it's very direct, then there is no doubt when God has answered. So now, taking that into this moment that shifted everything for me, was we were looking at planning a church, and we were praying about it, and we were like, all right, here's some things we need God to line up to make this church plant happen. One, I needed to get a job in the area. And then two, we prayed that God would help us sell our house in 30 days. Now, here's the thing about that. This was during a recession. We were in a rural area where houses would sit for a year. But yet we were like, God, if you want us there, you got to get us there. And then the next thing we prayed was like, let's get bold, let's get crazy, let's be direct. So we prayed, all right, and God, give us a house with 1,700 square feet. on an acre of land for $100,000. And that lets you know this was a few years ago, for a house to even be in that value range. So we prayed, we made our steps. So the first thing we had to do, though, we're usually just one step of obedience away from opening up God's whole nother level of blessing. So we had built a house. That was the house we built. We'd started our family in. It was very close to us, and it was going to be a hard thing to give up. But one day I was out mowing the yard, and I stopped the mower. I took a picture of it. I posted it on Facebook and said, we're selling a house. And after posting that is when I got a call from a school that I had applied for months ago. The only connection I had at that school had took a job elsewhere, so I had no connection there. But I did have a connection. God wanted me there. So got the call, get the job. So, but we've got this posting though for our house. 6 days after I posted that our house was for sale, I said, this is the size of the house. This is what we want for the house. We had an offer on the house, and these folks were already in position with the bank to buy. So by the 28th day in a rural area during a recession, we closed on a house. And that's once again a reminder to the fact that God had a place He wanted to get us to, and He was going to open the doors to make it happen. So then the next thing, on the day that we handed off the keys, because we closed on the house, we had 30 days to move out. The day we handed off the keys to the house, we had an offer accepted for us. It was a house with 1740 square feet on 1.01 acres of land for $100,000. And that lets, kind of going back to that concept that God will go above and beyond. God's like, hey, you want 1,700 square feet? You wanted an acre? Here's you a little more. And when I share that testimony, sometimes I've had friends who are like, man, you should have asked for 90. I'm like, well, maybe next time. But that shifted my perspective on this God and prayer. One, it just confirmed to me or this really drove home to the fact when God is calling you somewhere, He's going to open the doors, He's going to make it happen, and God is going to do the things that only God can do. God's going to do the things that only God can get credit for. Things I always pray is, God, let your vision be fulfilled, because I know it's going to be bigger than my own. And then I always pray, God, do something that I can't get credit for, but that only you can. Do something so big that only you can get credit. And this was one of those moments. But also it was just that shift in the importance of praying the big, bold prayers that honor God. All right, so the next question is, what does happiness mean to you? Well, I want to take from happiness and kind of talk about joy. All right, so happiness, I say happiness is when you're having a bad day and it gets turned around because you reach in your pocket and you find $20. But now joy is that moment when you're having a bad day, things aren't going well, you reach in your pocket and you only find a hole. All right, but it don't change. Things don't shift. You still have a joy because the joy of the Lord is your strength. So the circumstances don't drive who you are and how you feel. When you have that joy and that joy of the Lord in you, that's what gives you the strength. That's what drives you day to day. And that's why there's a joy that comes from just walking in, knowing not only who you are, but whose you are, and that you are walking in God's plan. Now, one thing I've found, if I'm trying to run in the opposite direction from where God is telling me, there isn't joy there, there's no peace. God will wholly disrupt you until you get in line with that place and that calling that He has for you. So when we're running from it, God's like, you can try to run, but I'm going to give you some motivation to kind of turn around and come back to me. Jonah, hey, look at Jonah. That's a prime example of that. So yeah, that for me is, what does happiness mean to you? Happiness, I want to say, lean that more into joy, into saying day in, day out, don't matter what's going on, then you can still find that peace in God, and that every day you can find and see God's hand at work. Now, the last question, so it asks, why do you think happiness is important? Well, here's the thing about it. Let me just give you a scenario here. So my dad is only 68 years old. And over the last few years, he's gone through some major health issues. And he's went through lymphoma twice. He has lupus, and now we're at stage 5 Parkinson, which means he needs around-the-clock care. So me and my mom help do that. But he needs around-the-clock care, and he pretty much needs assistance with just about everything. But the thing about it with my mom and with my dad, I've never heard them complain once about the situation. I've never seen them get down and out like, oh, why is this happening to me? Why am I having to go through this? Why do I have to experience this struggle? They still have joy because they have such a strong walk with God, and the joy of the Lord is our strength. And a funny thing was when Dad was in the hospital one time, and we were looking at the report afterwards, it was telling about everything that Dad had. Like, it listed off all the stuff he was going through. And then the doctor says, patient says, I'm good. And then the doctor says, he is pleasantly confused. And, but that's the thing about it. My parents have just took the approach of every day as a gift. They're thankful for every day they get to spend with each other. Yeah, it may not be easy, but God is walking with them through this. And that is why joy and happiness is important, is because we don't always get to pick what each day is going to look like. Like with my dad's situation, there was nothing that he did that led to these health diagnoses. They just happened, but they're making the most of it, and they're trusting and leaning into God as this happens. So that is why happiness and joy is so important, is because we don't know day to day what's going to hit, but we can choose to have joy and walk with God and see the blessings of God in it. All right, well, my friends, my name is Brandon Skelton. I appreciate the Clown Nose Club. Let me have this moment to share a little bit with you. I do comedy as well, so if you want to check out the comedian Brandon Skelton, I got some videos on there because I just love giving people the opportunity to laugh. So, my friends, be blessed, and we will catch you next time.